Hey you, yeah, you. Have you ever wanted superpowers? Not those lame powers like super speed or super strength, but awesome abilities like time stopping, electromagnetism, mimicry, a longer lifespan, and the ability to shape reality, becoming the world's greatest fanfiction writer and bring all your shit-ass smut fanfics to life. You can have one of these powers, all with the small caveat of discrimination, losing control of your powers and having your body mutated beyond control, or eventually your body turning into a hellmouth from which terrible monsters spawn in to unleash havoc across the world. So, no biggie. This video is about Wuthering waves in case you didn't realize. When playing through the game, you'll come to notice that playable characters have slightly unnatural abilities. Some are born with them, some manifest them at a certain point in their lives. But what exactly are these powers, and how did the characters get them? Well, we need to start at the beginning. The world was peaceful. Birds were chirping in the air, the breeze blew across your face. Corey finally uploaded a new video.
Pull down your pants.
And you just won your 50-50 pool. All was right with the world. But then, Doomsday, the lament struck. A mass extinction event that tormented Solaris with unnatural disasters. Cities razed to the ground, land masses ravaged, lives lost in its wake. The laws of reality got completely f***ed beyond reason. Physics made no sense anymore. The only law that remained unaffected was gravity. The world was broken beyond repair. But here's where things get interesting. When it struck, not only did it destroy, but it altered everything. From matter to concepts, everything was altered to compose of waves, reverberations, frequencies. Everything was changed to be made of vibrating frequencies. Water, plants, the air, feelings. Even memories and info recorded across time and space from past, present, and future became frequencies. But that's not all that was discovered. People, individuals could resonate with some frequencies. Frequencies of anything and everything, essentially manipulating certain attributes of reality, giving them unnatural abilities. These individuals formed a connection with the frequencies of some form of matter or fundamental principle of Solaris. This allowed them to manipulate that frequency to various effects. People who could resonate with certain frequencies and manipulate it to various degrees. There's gotta be a good name for it. Oh, I got it. These people came to be known as... Now, resonators could be anyone. Boy, girl, young, old, anyone from all walks of life could be a resonator. But besides the supernatural powers, how does one detect a resonator? After all, they come in all shapes and sizes. Well, there are a couple of ways. One way is by finding their tacit mark, a unique symbol that appears on a resonator's body, signifying that they have awakened their ability. A tacit mark can appear anywhere on the resonator's body, and they come in all shapes and sizes, but as long as you've got that, you're a bona fide resonator. A little bit of slight body horror, just slight. Tacit marks move.
Brother,
You'll notice this when their resonance liberation is ready, and it's... oh my gosh, it's fucking creepy. Like, look at the way it's moving. Does it itch? Another unique trait among resonators is a prolonged lifespan. Nothing super crazy like immortality, but they live longer than most humans, which is pretty neat. Okay, but what if they don't have their tacit mark in easy to see places? Like, after all, not every resonator is out there flaunting it. Well, there's another way to detect if someone is a resonator, and that's through mutations. When a resonator gains their ability, or their forte, as it states in the game, sometimes effects can take place on their body, whether internal or external. Take someone like Chusha. Fun fact, she wasn't always a redhead. After her awakening, caused by exposure to flames and extreme temperatures, her hair had changed its color and her body temperature had increased significantly. Or take Verena. On the surface, she looks like a regular kid who's really into plants. Her awakening was caused by exposure to plants and other botanical samples. So like, she's got plant earrings, plant accessories on her back, plant... What? Wait, what do you mean those aren't earrings? Those aren't accessories? Wait, they're growing out of her? The vines that grow out of her back and ear, even formed a symbiotic relationship with her, allowing her to store energy for use in everyday activities. So she can pretty much photosynthesize, which is honestly kind of a neat power to have. What about non-playable resonators? Well, take Fulmin, or Fulmine, a resonator that we meet in Omnissiah with the ability to store his memories into physical film that he grows out of his hair. How do we tell he's a resonator? By the film that grows out of his head. Yeah, so if you see a person with features that are a bit out of the ordinary, first of all, don't judge, you f***ing prick, it's rude. Second of all, chances are they're probably a resonator. Now, in the world of Wuthering Waves, it was important for researchers to learn to understand resonators and how exactly they came to be. After all, their abilities can be random and dangerous. Therefore, researchers came up with methods of identifying and classifying resonators. Now, all the stuff was actually in the game through something called a Forte examination report. Brace yourself, because I'm about to get scientific. All resonators have to have formed a connection with some frequency that gives them their abilities. So to classify them, we need to know what they resonated with. Scientists believe that through learning about a resonator's history, their past, and even their mental states, they could speculate on how resonator's forte came to be. All of this is categorized into a resonance spectrum pattern, which is a pattern that every resonator has. Scientists then compare this pattern to spectrum patterns of other materials to determine what an individual has resonated with. Take Chisha again, whose resonance spectrum pattern is closely similar to flames, or Best Girl Yang Yang, whose resonance spectrum pattern closely aligns with that of airflow and small bird species. But then you get some weird ones, spectrum patterns that aligns with things that don't exist or are completely unknown. Take Chun-Li for example. The sample for her resonance spectrum pattern isn't exactly known, and her forte is similar to the mythical bird from Huanglong folklore, so something that doesn't actually exist. Then we have Mortefi, who draws his power from sources that don't exist anymore, with his patterns being linked to a race called Dragonkin, a race of creatures that don't exist on Solaris 3 anymore. Okay, so scientists figured out how linking similar patterns can correlate to someone's forte, but now, how do they categorize resonators? Well, let's bring the topic back to tacet marks. If you've noticed, not all tacet marks look the same. Their shape and size actually helps to determine when and how a resonator had gotten their powers. This is what is known as a Rebel's curve. Developed by a Dr. Scott Rebel, this method of identification is used across all of Solaris 3 to categorize resonators into 3 distinct groups: natural, mutant, and congenital. A natural resonator has a curve that gradually rises over time. This means that their power naturally awakened as they continue to grow in age. So if you weren't born with your powers, but instead began to manifest them as you grew up, you would be classified as a natural resonator. Take characters like Brant, Xiangli, and Rover's daughter Imith. But what if you were born with your powers? Then you would be classified as a congenital resonator, meaning your curve will have a periodic waveform with no steady rise. Some congenital resonators are characters like Alto, Lumi, Yilin, and Carthea. Okay, so depending on if you were born with or without your powers, you would be put in 2 categories. But then, what's the point of the third one, mutants? Well, remember how I said that a person's mental state can help with examining resonators? Under extreme severe conditions that can cause physical or mental distress to someone, a person can awaken their forte, signifying that they are a mutant resonator, with the Rebel's curve showing a steep rise in the middle section. These conditions are usually traumatic or life-changing. Take Sanhua for example, who was born blind in both eyes. After a blizzard and a tacit discord outbreak, frequency erosion tainted her right eye, leading to the awakening of her forte and unusual sights. She can basically only see the world in frequencies, with the only human-shaped frequency she sees being Jinshi and Rover. Another mutant resonator will be Danjin, who awakened her forte during one extreme uncontrollable outburst. It's revealed through her backstory that her entire family was killed by bandits, so the moment of her awakening might have been through finding her family slaughtered in cold blood. So, most of the current playable characters fall into these categories, with only some being still unknown. The only exception is Shorekeeper, who isn't even human to begin with, so the current categories don't apply to her. So, that's it, right? Well, no. Remember how I said there were 3 categories?
Yeah, I lied.
There's a 4th one. Artificial resonators. Now, there is no official study on artificial resonators, and so far only one character is speculated to be an artificial resonator, Camellia. Now, all this categorization is important, but there's one last thing we need to discuss that we overlooked in the Forte examination reports, and that's overclocking. Having these powers are pretty cool, but controlling it and learning how not to overuse it is another situation. Your mental fortitude is extremely important. When pushed to the brink of your limits, whether through physical exertion or mental capacity, you run the risk of losing control of your forte. This is overclocking, and it's one of the worst things that could happen to a resonator, as it could very well endanger them and anyone surrounding them. The effects of overclocking can be varied from person to person, but some effects that are universal are significant mutations to the body, mental degradation, loss of control of powers, and worst case scenario, their body completely breaking down and turning into a tacit field itself. The remaining energy from overclocking can cause natural disasters detrimental to the surrounding areas and inhabitants. In Camellia's story quest, she states that once you've severely overclocked and begin to exhibit symptoms, there is no longer an option for a cure. Camellia herself has to be put in a pod periodically so her health can be properly checked. Several resonators in the game have overclocked or are on the verge of overclocking and have to be monitored periodically, as well as attend mandatory routine mental counseling. Some examples are Colcharo, who has a documented history of overclocking. It has gotten so severe that when he uses his powers, tacit discord erosion appears on his body. The situation is a bit unique to him, as in his Forte examination reports, his spectrum pattern is similar to patterns of tacit discords. Then we have the murder machine, Donjin, who is on the verge of overclocking. Though she has no recorded history of overclocking, she lost control when she had first awoken her powers. Her blood control exploded, severely damaging the surroundings around her, fortunately with no one being harmed. Her report really makes it a point to hammer in how volatile her emotions are and how dangerous she can be at the slightest hint of provocation. TLDR, Donjin is scary when she gets mad. Like, lethal scary. And the risk of her overclocking is very severe to the point where it's recommended that she has to be closely monitored, both physically and psychologically. But even kids aren't safe from overclocking. Take Encore, for example, a member of the Black Shores. Her overclock diagnostic report states that she is in a severe risk of overclocking, and it's recommended that she gets psychological counseling as well. Yeah, being a resonator is scary as shit. One terrible experience can possibly set you over the edge. Look at Yang Yang again. Would you believe that such a gentle soul has a history of overclocking? Her diagnostic report documented an event where she lost control of her Forte due to emotional overflow. No one was harmed, but she went in and out of comas, and her heightened senses caused her further harm. Her Forte had stabilized, but the feathers that grew out of her during the emotional breakdown remained permanent. Overclocking is a nightmare, not only doing permanent damage to the resonator, but to everybody around them. Yeah, would you believe that there are some people in the game who purposely overclock, if not just to give them an edge in battle? I already spoke about Colcharo, but then we have Frolova and Galbrina. Under different circumstances, both of their bodies have been severely altered, but because of these special cases, not only do they overclock, but they can control themselves during that volatile state. Hell, Galbrina shouldn't even be able to overclock. Her powers are completely corrupted by the Dark Tide. But in her case, overclocking doesn't completely break down her body. It almost rejuvenates it, with her report stating that if they could fully understand it, maybe they could use it to further help resonators learn to control their powers beyond their limits. However, these two are special cases. As such, trying to replicate what they did with their bodies is borderline stupid and should not be done at all. The Black Shores even goes as far as to say that anyone trying to mimic what Galbrina does will be contained. So 1 minute you're trying to unlock the full limits of your powers, the next you're being treated like an SCP. Overclocking is still a mystery that researchers have tried to solve, and until further insight is gained on it, any resonator is like a ticking time bomb, ready to go off. And the fear of a resonator experiencing a devastating outburst has gotten so strong that resonator discrimination has become a thing that unfortunately some people have had to go through. Currently in the story, there are only 2 regions notorious for resonator discrimination: Ashinohara and the ever-elusive New Federation. The former actually has measures in place for resonators. They are forced to wear devices that suppress their fortes and have to be placed on a monitoring list. They are constantly blamed for tacit discord outbreaks and shunned, despite the fact that they don't really get to choose to be a resonator. There's still a lot that we don't know about resonators, but as the story progresses, I have no doubt that we'll know more about them. There's still so much mystery surrounding the crazy world of Solaris 3, and I hope to make more videos about it. But that's all I got for now, so if you liked the video, please like, subscribe, all that jazz, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Also, real quick before I go, a bit of a fun fact. There is a report in the game documented as the first resonator. The report describes this mysterious person with a tacit mark present on their right arm, and their eyes glowing with yellow when they use their forte. I wonder who they are. They sound familiar. Anyways, that's it for realsies. Bye-bye.